Good evening from Athens. The first keynote of our symposium will do just that, set the tone, reassemble chronologies, geographies, and languages. While the exact relationship of the Greek Revolutionaries to the new Haitian state, as we learned in the previous fascinating panel, is probably something we still don't really know that much about and needs more research. One thing that is for certain is that the Greek state did not invite Haiti to celebrate its 200-year anniversary, but instead, provocatively, the descendants of French slave owners, the British Crown. While we cannot change this, we can set a different tone here. We can recognize the Caribbean as a crucible of necropolitics, racial capitalism, dehumanization in the world, but also as the very wellspring of decoloniality. For one, in the Haitian Revolution, which we just discussed, that abolished slavery forever in 1804, the most radical of acts of emancipation. But also in the anti-colonial writers, poets, thinkers of the Caribbean, one of whom we have with us online today, Gina Athena Ulysse. Gina is a Haitian-American poet, performer, feminist, multimedia artist, anthropologist, carrying a lot of Hellas baggage in her name. She's a professor in the Feminist Studies department at the University of California in Santa Cruz, where she is going to be connecting from. Along with her ethnographic research, Gina has published public-facing work such as Why Haiti Needs New Narratives, a post-quake chronicle, poetry, spoken word collections such as Because When God Is Too Busy, Haiti, Me, and the World. In her performances, art, and writings, Gina has developed the concept and practice of rassemblage, a Haitian Creole word that she defines as a gathering of ideas, people, things, and spirit, though not necessarily in that order. I will not try to translate exactly because that itself would be a colonial gesture, but just to say that rassemblage fuses performance and politics, involves presence, engagement, and encounter of all kinds, enacts the compilation and composition of parts not made into a whole, calls us together. So without further ado, I invite Gina to offer a blessing to us here in Athens via her ancestors in Haiti, namely the Alpha and Omega in the letter, a sonic meditation on freedom.
Ma demande si pa gen gran mouno o lan la koua. Mwen rive o lan la koua. Ma demande si pa gen gran mouno oh non la cour. Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide. I'm gonna find you and take it slowly. Dis-moi rive, moi rive, moi rive, moi rive, moi rive. Oh l'ami dans la cour. Ma pe mande si pa gen gran mouno o lan la koua. Magua, Marien, Zaragua, Maguana, Igwe. Here is a shipload of items traded and exchanged for 500 Africans. This is a list of items that was used to be traded for 500 enslaved Africans. Cowries, 20,000 pounds. Coarse German linen, 1,500 pieces, cotton length 30 yards white, 100 pieces, cotton length 30 yards blue, 50 pieces, cotton length 15 yards white, 250 pieces, cotton length calico with large flowers, 150 pieces, cotton length striped, 130 pieces, firearms, 200, copper or brass basins from 3 pounds to 8 pounds, 600 pounds, gunpowder for small arms, 1,000 pounds, iron bars, 1,006 pounds, coral, 50, Dutch pipe from the best stores, 5 boxes, 50, beads and glass toys of different colors. This is a list of items that was used for the exchange of 500 enslaved Africans. Look at what these models have done. Look at what these models have done. Look at what these models have done. Black liberation mashup. Neither blood nor belonging accounted for my presence. I closed my eyes and strained to hear the cries and groans that once echoed in the dungeon, but the space was mute. I am a reminder that 12 million crossed the Atlantic Ocean, and the past is not yet over. I am a progeny of captives. I am a vestige of the dead. I am a vestige of the dead. I am a vestige of the dead. And history is how the secular world attends to the dead. Not only humans made the crossing, not only humans made the crossing, traveling in one direction through ocean, given the name Atlantic. Grief traveled as well. The dead do not like to be forgotten. The dead do not like to be forgotten. The dead do not like to be forgotten, especially those who've been stacked 10 high in a sea of mass grave. Aguila Negra. The voyage began July 16, 1702. 500 boarded, 107 survived. Marie-Françoise, the voyage began May 19, 1726. 400 boarded, 80 survived. Saint-Jacques, voyage began October 2nd, 1741. 239 boarded, 162 survived. Aigle, voyage began July 12, 1786. 391 boarded, 260 survived. Vivant your family. Vivant your family. Look at what these models have done. Look at what these models have done. Have you ever wondered why it is that all we seem to have learned from you is how to corrupt our societies and how to be tyrants? You will have to accept that it is mostly your fault. Let me show you how you look to us. You came. You took things that were not yours. You took things that were not yours. You took things that were not yours. And you did not even, for appearance's sake, ask first. You could have said, "May I have this, please?" Even though it would have been clear to everybody that a yes or no from us would have been of no consequence. You might have looked so much better. Believe me, it would have gone a long way. I would have had to admit that at least you were polite. Look at what the mortals have done. Look at what these mortals have done. When reality does not coincide with deeply held beliefs, human beings tend to phrase interpretations that force reality within the scope of these beliefs. They devise formulas to repress the unthinkable and to bring it back within the realm of accepted discourse. Undoubtedly, there comes a specific moment when political events occur as if by destiny, regardless of our wishes. The human spirit progresses and often inspires some inner process which ultimately shakes nations and leads them to unavoidable commotions from which emerges a new era with institutions that are better suited to the times. But these events are the result of specific factors. They are produced by specific forces. We cannot neglect the least of these factors if we are to understand these events. We cannot neglect the least of these factors if we are to understand these events. Every owner of slaves shall, whenever possible, ensure that his slaves belong to as many ethno-linguistic groups as possible. If they cannot speak to each other, they cannot foment rebellion and revolution. So kill them off. Kill them off. Kill them off. Kill them off. And get new ones who know nothing of liberty and equality. There is no movement among our Negroes. They are very tranquil and obedient. A revolt among them is impossible. Oh, we have nothing to fear on the part of our Negroes. We sleep with our doors and our windows wide open. Freedom for Negroes is a chimera. There were only two methods of subverting a colonial system so long and deeply rooted in time and prejudice. The one, gradual, emanated from our oppressors themselves. The other, sudden and violent, originated with the oppressed and was contrary to the wishes of our tyrants. We used the last method. We used the last method. We used the last method. Indeed, it is not enough to be free of whips, principalities, and powers. Pay me off, you savages. Build me an equitable human assertion. Build me an equitable human assertion. Build me an equitable human assertion. One that looks like a jungle, or one that looks like one of your cities in the West, but I provide the stock, the beast, the myths. All we have to do now is take these lies and make them true somehow. All we have to see is that I don't belong to you and you don't belong to me. The alpha and omega and the letter. To the citizens of Greece, to the citizens of Greece, to the citizens of Greece. Before I received your letter from Paris, dated last August 20th, the news about the revolution of your co-citizens against the despotism, which lasted for over 3 centuries, had already arrived here. With great enthusiasm, we learned that Hélas was finally forced to take up arms in order to gain her freedom and the position that she once held among the nations in the world. Such a beautiful and just case. Most importantly, the first successes which have accompanied it cannot leave Haitians indifferent, for we, like the Hellenists, were for a long time subjected to a dishonorable slavery. And finally, with our own chains, we broke the head of tyranny. Wishing to heavens to protect the descendants of Leonidas, we thought to assist these brave warriors, if not with military forces and ammunition, at least with money, which will be useful for acquisitions of guns, which you need. But events that have occurred and imposed financial restrictions onto our country absorbed the entire budget, including the part that would be disposed by our administration. Moreover, at present, the revolution which triumphs in the eastern portion of our island is creating a new obstacle and carrying out our aim. In fact, this portion, which was incorporated into the republic I preside over, is in extreme poverty and thus justifies immense expenditures of our budget. If the circumstances as we wish improve again, then we shall honorably assist you, the son of Ilas, to the best of our abilities. Citoyens, transmettre compatriotes yo souhaité au bon chef haïtien apvoyer sous non-libération nous. Citizens, convey to your compatriots the warm wishes that the people of Haiti send on behalf of your liberation. The descendants of ancient Hellenists look forward and the reawakening of their history to the trophies worthy of Salamis. May they prove to be like their ancestors, Zansetio, and guided by the commands of Militiades, and be able in the fields of the new marathon to achieve the triumph of the holy affair that they have undertaken on behalf of their rights, religion, and motherland. May it be at last through their wise decisions that they will be commemorated by history as the heirs of the endurance and virtues of their ancestors. Zansetio. Mwen rive, oh la la koua, ma pe mande si pa gen kamouno, oh la la koua. And the 15th January, 1822, and the 19th year of independence, Jean-Pierre Boyer. Dis moi rive, moi rive, moi rive, moi rive, moi rive. Oh la mi tan la koua, ma pe mande si pa gen grand mouno. Oh la la koua. Some things go on. Some things just say. I used to think it was just my memory. Some things you forget, other things you never do. All we have to do now is take these lives and make them true somehow. None of us start with a clean slate. None of us start with a clean slate. None of us. But the historicity of the human condition requires that practices of power and domination be renewed. If your house ain't in order, you ain't in order. If your house ain't in order, you ain't in order. The world recreated humankind is master of a new fate, strengthened by a new experience of life. The fruitfulness of this admirable doctrine that it poses to each of us, the immediate problems from which it is impossible to shy away without cowardice. It is now vital to dare to know oneself. It is now vital to dare to know oneself, to dare to confess to oneself, to dare to ask oneself what one wants to be. Without new visions, we don't know what to build, only what to knock down we not only end up confused, rudderless, and cynical, but we forget that making a revolution is not a series of clever maneuvers and tactics, but a process that can and must transform us. It is a process that can and must transform us. Revolution begins with the self, and the self, for the space between power and vulnerability, is not just an edge. There is room there. There is room there. There is room for deference. There is room for humility. There is room for surrender. And there is room for grace. Because we are each other's harvest. We are each other's harvest. We are each other's business. We are each other's magnitude and bond. Dis-moi rive, moi rive, moi rive, moi rive, moi rive. Oh la mitan la koua. Ma pe mande si pa gen kamouno. Oh la koua. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. We have to say goodbye, Gina. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. Thank you.